Dyatlov Pass is a very famous story about these hikers that go missing in the 1950s. They were hiking into the Ural Mountains to take this thing called their Level 3 hiking test.
In the frozen wilderness of the Ural Mountains, amid the stark desolation of Russia's Siberian vastness, a mystery has haunted historians, investigators, and curious minds for over 6 decades. The Dyatlov Pass incident, named after the group's leader, Igor Dyatlov, has long been shrouded in eerie speculation and grim intrigue. Now, after years of theories ranging from the plausible to the paranormal, the mystery has finally been solved. And the answer, unexpected, unnerving, and stark in its implications, is more shocking than anyone could have imagined. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. It began in the winter of 1959 when 9 experienced Soviet hikers embarked on a skiing expedition across the northern Ural Mountains. Their destination was Otorten, a mountain whose name ominously means "don't go there" in the language of the local Mansi people. The group, composed of 8 men and 2 women, were all young, educated, and seasoned in mountain expeditions. All had completed similar treks, and there was no reason to suspect that this journey would end in tragedy. Yet something happened on that snow-covered slope that defied logic and terrified anyone who dared to investigate it. Rescuers found the group's abandoned campsite weeks after they had failed to return. Their tent, discovered half buried in snow, had been slashed open from the inside. The hikers had fled into the sub-zero temperatures without their coats, some barefoot, scattering into the night as if escaping some imminent danger. Their bodies were found in bizarre states, some with broken ribs and fractured skulls, others appearing to have succumbed to hypothermia. One woman's tongue was missing. The snow around them contained no signs of struggle or footprints other than their own. The official Soviet report listed the cause of death cryptically as a compelling natural force. Speculation exploded. Some blamed an avalanche. Others suggested military tests gone wrong. Still more outlandish theories emerged. Aliens, Yetis, secret KGB operations, interdimensional portals. For years, no one could make sense of the contradictory evidence. How could an avalanche be powerful enough to crush ribs but not disturb the tent or leave debris? Why would seasoned hikers run from shelter into the lethal cold unless they believed they were in greater danger inside? What cracked the case at last was a meticulous forensic and geophysical investigation, combining modern technology with a re-examination of the original Soviet evidence. Scientists and researchers, driven to separate fact from legend, utilized satellite imagery, computer simulations, and comparative studies with similar terrain. But what clinched it, a surprising and chilling twist, was the application of snow dynamics and a once overlooked detail buried in the archives. The hikers had dug a shallow trench into the snow slope to pitch their tent, unintentionally triggering the very event that would doom them. The conclusion was more horrifying in its simplicity than any elaborate conspiracy. A rare type of delayed slab avalanche had occurred, a phenomenon unfamiliar even to many avalanche experts. When the hikers carved into the snow-covered slope to create a flat campsite, they unknowingly disturbed an unstable layer buried beneath the surface. At first, nothing happened, but as snow accumulated during the night, immense pressure built up. Hours later, with no warning, a massive sheet of snow released above their tent, compressing them with brutal force. Though the avalanche was not large in the traditional sense, the mechanics of a slab avalanche meant that a compact, heavy mass of snow moved at high speed, crushing anything in its path. The injuries, fractured ribs, crushed skulls, were consistent with such high-impact trauma. At the same time, the relatively shallow depth of the snow following the event explained why the tent was still visible and not buried deeply. Panicked, dazed, and injured, the group scrambled to escape the devastation, fleeing in different directions, trying desperately to survive the night without shelter or proper gear. The implications of this are staggering. For decades, the Dyatlov Pass mystery had lived in the realm of the unexplainable. The mere fact that such seasoned hikers would flee into a Siberian night without shoes seemed to defy reason. But this new explanation rewrites our understanding not only of this particular event, but of how perilous high-altitude winter terrain can be, even for the most prepared. It highlights a silent, almost invisible killer, one that gives no warning and punishes minor mistakes with lethal consequences. It also exposes the fragility of human interpretation in the face of nature's complexity. For years, the lack of surface snow on the tent and bodies was seen as proof against an avalanche. Yet in reality, the specific conditions that night, the snowpack, temperature fluctuations, terrain angle, and trench location, created a unique convergence that fooled even seasoned investigators. Technology had to catch up with the event. Avalanche simulation software developed decades after the incident showed how snow slabs could mimic solid structures and yet collapse in unpredictable patterns. The horrifying truth is that what happened on that slope could happen again, has happened, and likely will, without fanfare or mystery when no one is watching. Then there's the psychological dimension. Understanding the final moments of the Dyatlov group brings with it a heavy burden. These were not victims of malice or madness. They were methodical, brave individuals caught in a terrifying moment of nature's silent wrath. The evidence shows they tried to survive. They built a makeshift shelter under the trees, attempted to light fires, and even tried to return to the tent. But the cold was merciless, and their injuries, compounded by the elements, made survival impossible. This wasn't a panicked run. It was a strategic retreat executed in chaos, by people who likely knew they were doomed but fought to the end. This conclusion, while finally lifting the veil of mystery, adds a chilling realism that no supernatural theory could match. There's no comfort in knowing the truth. If anything, it's more disturbing to realize that nature's indifference, not secret weapons or mythical beasts, was the executioner. It means that their deaths weren't scripted in the grand theater of Cold War politics or unexplained phenomena. They were real, arbitrary, and terrifyingly mundane. Just a group of people caught in the wrong place at the wrong time with no divine warning and no second chance. It also casts a long shadow over mountaineering and outdoor expeditions. The Dyatlov Pass tragedy has now become a cautionary tale not just of human curiosity, but of the limits of our knowledge. Even today, avalanches remain notoriously difficult to predict. The terrain may look stable, snow may appear settled, but hidden weaknesses formed over days or weeks can become deadly triggers waiting for the right moment. The hikers, by choosing a seemingly minor campsite adjustment, unknowingly walked into the jaws of a geophysical trap. That such a slight action could initiate a chain of events culminating in 9 deaths reveals just how delicately balanced such environments truly are. What makes this revelation so powerful is how it reframes the legacy of the Dyatlov group. They weren't foolhardy, nor were they victims of the absurd. They were intelligent, disciplined, and experienced. And yet even they could not escape the randomness of a natural disaster that science barely understood at the time. It is this that elevates their story from a mere mystery into a profound parable of human vulnerability. Understanding the mechanics behind their deaths forces a new respect for the natural world, one not clouded by myth but sharpened by knowledge. In a world increasingly shaped by data and analysis, the Dyatlov Pass case is a stark reminder that truth can lie dormant under snow and silence for decades, waiting for the tools and perspective to unearth it. And when that truth arrives, it may not come with comfort, but with clarity, a clarity that demands reverence rather than resolution. The closing of this mystery also serves as a solemn acknowledgement to those who lost their lives. Their deaths were not in vain nor simply tragic. The relentless pursuit to understand what happened to them has fueled advancements in avalanche research, risk assessment, and expedition safety. Scientists have improved models for snow behavior. Emergency response teams are more alert to the silent threats of the terrain. What was once seen as an impenetrable enigma is now a pivotal case study in the consequences of environmental misjudgment. Yet for all the science, the human side remains deeply affecting. One can't help but imagine the moments after the avalanche struck. Disoriented figures stumbling into the cold, injuries mounting, the brutal realization of their situation sinking in. Their actions in those final hours, stripped of hysteria and marked by resolve, are testaments to their resilience. They were not simply lost. They were defiant in the face of hopelessness, clinging to life in a world that had suddenly turned against them. Even with the mystery solved, the Dyatlov Pass story refuses to fade. Its allure now shifts from the fantastical to the human. We no longer need aliens or government secrets to feel the power of this story. Its tragedy is grounded in reality, which makes it all the more enduring. This was not a puzzle waiting for a hero to decipher. It was a story of people, of nature, and of the thin line that separates safety from disaster. And so, the Dyatlov Pass mystery, long held as one of the most chilling unsolved cases of the 20th century, finally bows to reason. Not with a dramatic twist or a cosmic answer, but with a scientific explanation that reaffirms nature's dominance. It is, in the end, a reminder that some of the most terrifying truths are not the ones that defy logic, but the ones that fit all too well within it. What makes the resolution of the Dyatlov Pass incident even more astonishing is how it reshapes the narrative surrounding one of the most enduring unsolved mysteries in modern history. For decades, the fascination with the event thrived precisely because it seemed impervious to explanation. Now, as the final pieces settle into place, a more nuanced and deeply unsettling picture emerges, one not born of intrigue, but of inevitability. The mystery's power always came from its contradictions. Seasoned hikers acting irrationally, a tent abandoned from within, extreme injuries with no external wounds, a missing tongue, radioactivity on clothing. Each element layered more confusion onto the last, turning the event into a magnet for elaborate theories. But with the application of updated scientific tools and a deeper understanding of snow dynamics, those contradictions dissolve into a singular tragic narrative. What appeared random or supernatural was, in fact, a complex chain of cause and effect set in motion by the unforgiving terrain and the invisible weight of a mountain's snowy face. This resolution casts a different kind of shadow. It forces a confrontation not with secret technologies or unexplained creatures, but with the subtle violence of nature itself. The most terrifying aspect of the Dyatlov Pass incident, now that it is understood, is how plausible it really was. There was no bizarre twist, no hidden actor pulling strings, just a sleeping team of hikers who unknowingly disrupted a layered snowpack and suffered the inevitable consequences. With the veil lifted, the implications stretch far beyond this single incident. It calls into question the assumptions we make about safety in hostile environments. There's a false comfort that comes with experience and preparation, an illusion that with enough gear, planning, and skill, one can tame even the harshest conditions. But what Dyatlov Pass illustrates so brutally is that even the most capable can fall victim to phenomena that remain outside their perception. No amount of training could have made the instability beneath their tent obvious to the naked eye. Their death was not a failure of preparation, it was a failure of foreknowledge. This understanding changes how such environments must be approached going forward. The idea of safe zones in snow-covered mountainous regions becomes more tentative. What looks secure in the moment might hold hidden vulnerabilities. Slabs of snow poised like silent predators, waiting for just the right trigger. This realization presses hard on the ethics of adventure tourism and exploration. In our pursuit to push boundaries and explore the remote corners of the Earth, are we adequately equipping ourselves with the right kinds of knowledge? Are we investing in the tools that reveal what lies beneath the surface? Or are we, like the Dyatlov group, trusting too much in the illusion of stillness? The case also demands a reconsideration of how we treat anomalous deaths in remote or extreme environments. For years, the Dyatlov incident served as a kind of blank canvas onto which people projected cultural fears, Cold War paranoia, extraterrestrial anxiety, myths of ancient spirits, and the unexplained unknown. But the truth shows that sensationalism can obscure understanding. When death strikes under strange circumstances, the human mind seeks narrative. We crave motive, agency, and control. The idea that nature can kill in a way that defies intuitive understanding is harder to accept than any conspiracy. And yet, it's far more probable and infinitely more terrifying. In solving the Dyatlov Pass mystery, researchers have inadvertently exposed the wider vulnerability in how humanity responds to uncertainty. We often choose the comfort of improbable tales over the discomfort of impersonal truths. When a mystery endures, it becomes romanticized. But when it is solved, particularly in a way that hinges on mundane tragedy, it challenges the mythology we've built. The implications ripple beyond mountaineering. They touch our psychology, our culture, and even our relationship with storytelling itself. This new understanding also recontextualizes the public's role in shaping the narrative of events like this. In the case of Dyatlov Pass, public interest kept the story alive, fueled countless books, documentaries, and online forums. And while that interest helped maintain pressure on institutions to continue investigating, it also introduced noise, distractions that may have slowed the journey toward truth. The commitment to logic and evidence had to fight through layers of hearsay and invention. Solving the case wasn't just about science, it was about persistence in the face of myth-making. Now that the truth is clear, the very persistence of the incident as a cultural obsession speaks volumes. People are fascinated not merely because of the details of the case, but because of the sense that something genuinely unknowable had occurred. Now we know that what was unknowable simply hadn't been understood yet. That realization is both satisfying and unsettling. It suggests that many other unsolvable mysteries may simply be waiting for the right technology, the right perspective, or the right synthesis of information to crack them open. The revelation also brings a degree of tragic dignity back to the hikers themselves. For years, the speculation surrounding their deaths had reduced them to characters in a speculative drama, as if their suffering was a backdrop to larger conspiracies or cosmic anomalies. But the reality places them squarely back in the realm of the human. They weren't victims of the extraordinary. They were human beings caught in a moment of catastrophic physics. Their final decisions, whether to flee, whether to regroup under the trees, whether to return to the tent, become understandable acts of survival rather than puzzle pieces in an unfathomable riddle. Understanding their decisions as rational reactions to an avalanche brings an emotional clarity to the tragedy. Imagine the terror of waking up to the tent collapsing under tons of snow. The realization that the shelter you trusted has become a trap. In the disorienting dark, their instincts kicked in. They broke through the tent, they helped each other out. They didn't descend into chaos. They moved toward what they thought was safety. This reaffirms their humanity, their competence, and their courage in their final hours. The ripples of the Dyatlov Pass solution also touched the scientific community in unexpected ways. It underscores the necessity of interdisciplinary collaboration, how glaciologists, engineers, historians, and software developers had to come together to see the full picture. This was not a mystery that one discipline could solve in isolation. It required modeling software borrowed from Disney's animation tools to simulate snow behavior. It demanded revisiting archival documents and reinterpreting their findings through a modern lens. That this convergence could produce such clarity is a testament to the evolving power of science, and a warning against treating any case as unsolvable. In the larger context of human understanding, the Dyatlov Pass tragedy now stands as a testament to the layered complexity of natural phenomena and the way human lives intersect with that complexity. It warns against arrogance, against the belief that any environment can be fully understood or controlled. Mountains, snowfields, and winter storms remain indifferent to our narratives. They do not adapt to our expectations or reward our experience. They simply are, and they act according to laws that do not pause for human presence. That stark truth gives the final explanation of Dyatlov Pass an air of existential terror. It wasn't just an accident. It was an encounter with the indifferent machinery of nature, mechanisms that grind forward without concern for justice, fairness, or reason. This cold finality can feel bleak, but it is also honest. And in its honesty, there's a strange kind of beauty. The acknowledgement that humans, no matter how intelligent or prepared, are still participants in a world that can never be fully tamed. The Dyatlov Pass story will no doubt continue to capture imaginations, but its narrative is forever changed. Where once it stood as a towering mystery, now it stands as a warning, a case study, and a deeply human tragedy. Its endurance in public consciousness will likely evolve. No longer the subject of outlandish documentaries or ghostly speculation, it becomes instead a lesson taught in avalanche courses, a touchstone for cold weather expedition planning, a name etched into the shared knowledge of outdoor risk. For those who seek adventure in remote places, Dyatlov Pass is now more than a legend. It's a mirror. It reflects the silent forces we dare to confront and the narrow margins within which we operate. It reminds us that danger rarely announces itself with drama. Often it waits quietly beneath the surface, hidden in snow layers or unseen fractures, revealing itself only when it's too late. The legacy of those 9 hikers is now entwined with this truth. In seeking the edge of the known world, they encountered its merciless core. Perhaps the most haunting takeaway is the simplicity of the fatal error. A flat surface carved into a slope. A night of quiet snowfall. a few inches of added weight. The unspooling of a nightmare from such innocuous beginnings should make us all pause. Because if such a catastrophe can spring from such an imperceptible trigger, then what else do we overlook? What unseen forces shift beneath the surfaces of our everyday decisions? The Dyatlov Pass no longer invites us to wonder about the supernatural. It challenges us to be humble in the face of the natural. As the snow continues to fall over the Ural Mountains, covering the place where their lives ended, the hiker's story now rests in its most complete form, not in fragments of conspiracy or whispers of the unknown, but in the raw and humbling reality of the world they walked into. Their story no longer needs embellishment. It stands powerful and poignant on its own, as a final truth carved not into stone, but into snow. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us. What are your thoughts on the Dyatlov Pass mystery finally being solved? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.